I don't know who's watching my content. I know I have family members that watch. They watch because they love me. They watch because they're learning a few things about gardening. I don't know who my audience is. I decided to try to build my channel recently because I love video. I've been in video production for 20 years, 12 of the last years full-time professional. The work has really slowed down, but I still love doing video. And if I can eventually have a following, that'd be great. I love shooting video. I love making content. The content that I make is for people probably who think similar to what I do, and that is in the vein of preparedness. Preparedness in regards to having to eventually depend on one's skills and knowledge and abilities from learned experience. Now, what I'm doing now with my garden, I still call all of that experimentation up until the point of where things go live and I have to literally do everything myself and not rely on a grocery store. That's going to be rough for anybody. I don't care who you are. The rough is not the right word. Terrifying. So as long as I can experiment in these good times, I will learn as much as I can and I will share along the way. There's a reason for my prep, and it's not just because of what's happening in the media. It's not just what's happening in the world. It's not just what's happening all around us. And I was reluctant to do this, but I think I'm going to, and I hope it's not too windy. It's windy all around me. I found a little nook of a spot to talk, and I hope that this video is coming across clearly without too much wind, because literally I'm out here and it's very, very windy. I was given a dream when I was 9 years old, and I say given because it was this very special dream. I was 9 years old, living in the Caribbean with my family, and I had a dream one night, and in that dream, I was an older person. That was just the sense of it. I was an older person. And the environment that I was in my dream was an outside living situation. If you can call it living, it was more desperately surviving. That was how I could describe it. Desperate living conditions. And I was with a number of people. I don't know who those people were. I don't have a recollection of faces or who was there. I just recall moving through this environment, walking, and my observation, or at least my remembrance of that dream was not only were the living conditions poor and desperate, but the environmental conditions too were poor and desperate. I vividly remembered trees, maybe one or two trees in the vicinity, and they were not living trees, they were lifeless trees. And I recall also seeing in my dream there was an attempt, I was most likely a part of that attempt, to grow some kind of crop, because the plants that were being tended to in that space, in that dream, were being covered with sheets, something like that, probably to protect from the sun. I believe that this dream was given to me in preparation for the future. This is how I've always viewed this dream. The dream doesn't end there. But in the midst of this situation, the atmosphere changed because somebody was approaching our camp, I'll call it, because it wasn't a permanent place. It was there was no home, there was no cabin, there was no structural, living, situation. Again, this is not something that I share lightly. I share it because if you're this far with me, good, great. But I share it because it matters to me. It's guided. It's literally it's literally set me on a course in my life with a mindset of preparedness. But in this dream I was walking through the space that we were occupying, very few people around me. But again, the atmosphere changed. Somebody was approaching our encampment. And I recognized this being as being the Savior. And as he approached, he said some words to our group. He said, "Israel, Israel, God is calling. Come unto me. He is calling." Essentially, in this dream, Christ was bringing together people. And they call him the Savior for a reason. He was ushering people together, and doing so because God wanted it. And when he had said this, and when I knew who he was in our midst, my guilt, my shame, any of those feelings of inadequacy, they washed over me in his presence. And within his presence, I was also forgiven of those things. Inasmuch as I felt guilt and shame and inadequate to be in his presence, the love that he brought was overwhelming, and the forgiveness washed over me, just as the shame had moments earlier. It was very profound. I was 9 years old and I woke up weeping. At that age, of course, in real life, I had no sin that I could point to as being horrible or shame. But again, this was a projection into my future. At least this is my take, my understanding. I think that I've taken note of news and events in the world because in the back of my mind, I see an endpoint, and that endpoint is a dire point. It's not a positive thing. The only positive thing is that there are better things to come, but the hardship is going to be lived first. So this is, in a sense, motivating me, in a big sense, motivating me to prepare for the future and prepare for those around me that I love, my girls, my wife. Food storage, growing food, learning how to grow food, learning how to do it in conditions that are not ideal. I live in a desert, and we have high winds at times. We have dust. We have periods of drought. So this is not the ideal growing environment. But it's out of adversity. It's out of hardship that we learn our biggest lessons, though. I mean, I'm learning a lot of lessons out here, but that applies to life as well. We, endure hardship, we pull through, and we grow, right? I just wanted to share that. I don't know if it was appropriate or not. I hope that I was articulate and that it doesn't sound retarded or stupid. I'm not trying to be vulgar, I'm not trying to offend anybody. Yep. Just sharing some thoughts here, and there's a lot of thoughts I could share, and I most likely will. I have a number of series of types of videos I'm doing, gardening in the desert, plunges in cold water, building things, and I'll probably start doing, sharing my thoughts kind of series. This is one of them, and I just felt motivated to do that. Now, whether or not, it means much to you, that's up to you. Just wanted to share my thinking and the importance that I believe in the idea of preparing, learning what we can right now, and I do consider it experimentation until go time. Take care.